Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, before we start this next upload, I'm proud to present to you Oklahoma Bigfoot Files, a book by D. Dawes. Those of you who don't know D. Dawes, he's my programming director for Dog Waters Entertainment and Dog Waters Radio. Head on over to Amazon.com right now and check out Oklahoma Bigfoot Files on Kindle for only $4.99. So for years I've been fascinated with the Dogman Island encounters. And when it comes to Dogman encounters themselves, I'm what you call a connoisseur. I want the most accurate and real encounters out there. No creepypasta for me as a researcher. For months I've been buying equipment to go out and film Dogman. So I reach out to Dog Waters and ask for the coordinates of Dogman Island, and this dude gives me coordinates to some place in Texas. So I say we head down to Louisiana. Now when I get there it's all messed up. And if you don't know, people are still recovering from Hurricane Ida. Houses missing, trees down. It's all the way screwed up down there. The restaurant from the original story is partially destroyed, windows boarded up, closed for business. The only thing I found open was a truck stop. So I head in to this little cafe inside, sit down for a cup of coffee, then go into the casino for a minute and strike up a conversation with a local about the rougarou. The first thing he says is, why in the hell would you want to find the rougarou? And then he goes on to tell me that it's a werewolf, a man that turns into a wolf, and that the Homer Indians warned about them and people down here don't go looking for stuff like that. Then he abruptly stops the conversation, so I started up again, this time playing the Dogman Island story for him, asking him if he knew where it was. He says there's a couple of islands that fit that description, but he wouldn't even think about going down to those areas because there's storm debris all over the place. So I pay him $500 to show me every island that he thought could be Dogman Island. The guy pulls out his phone and starts showing me places, 6 places to be exact, and tells me that I need to find an airboat to rent. That's the best way to move through the marsh. So I head out to find an airboat. But it's impossible. Every last one of those boats are being used for storm recovery, pipe repair, power line repair. So I leave Homer dejected and search for a hotel. End up staying in Kenner, Louisiana. While I'm there, I'm online searching for an airboat. Well, I find a couple, one for sale for $10,000 and another one for rent, but the deposit is $2,500. Nonetheless, I rent the boat. Next day, I sign all the waivers, hitch it to my truck, head back down to Homer, and from Homer to Dulac, Louisiana. Now, if you've never been to Louisiana, the people talk funny. Everybody has this Cajun twang to their speech. And the first people I run into at that boat launch are these 2 black dudes. They're headed out going fishing. Now, when I say this, I'm not being racist or anything, but when you see Cajun people with Cajun accents, it's mostly white people on TV. But these 2 brothers had full-blown Cajun accent, but they was black as midnight. And they asked me if I'm going gator hunting. I tell them no, I'm going looking for the rougarou. This look comes over their faces. And it wasn't a look of ridicule, but a look of confusion. As one of them says, do you work for the government? I'm like, no, I hunt these things. And that's when they start laughing at me. And one of them says, let me get this straight. Out of all the things in these swamps, hogs, gators, things you can eat, you out here hunting something that can definitely eat you. Then they both bend over at the waist, laughing at me, launch their boat, and leave with smiles on their faces, looking at me like I'm a dumb. And honestly, it didn't embarrass me or bother me one bit. I've been looking for cryptids for a long time, and I've been treated this way for a long time. So I leave out, headed to the first island. And I have to follow some power lines that cut west. It takes me across the marsh, then back into the lake, and sure enough, it's an island. But it's small. I circle it, GPS mark it, and go to the next one. That day, I visit 4 of the 6 island locations, then call it quits. The following morning, I head out and hit the last 2 spots. And only one fits the description completely. There's a channel that runs right next to it, plenty of boats passing by, but there's a ship up against the bank. Not a boat, it's a ship that must have washed up during the hurricane. So I decide to circle that island and there's a chain of smaller islands that don't connect, but something could definitely swim the distance from island to island. I had absolutely no intentions of making the same mistake the other guy did and walking around and get myself caught up, so I drive the airboat up on land, circle around looking for signs of life. Then I drive to the smaller islands and do the same thing. Well, lunchtime rolls around. I'm anchored just on the right hand side of that channel having a sandwich. Boats are passing by, and I notice that every boat that gets close to this island throttles its engine up to high speed and guns it. And once they get about 300 yards past this spot, they slow back down. And by every boat, I watched 6 boats do this in a row. That's what led me to believe I had found the right spot. But I still wanted confirmation. So I head back in. Now I'm staying at a small motel in Homer. The place only has half of the rooms operational because the roof is missing on the other ones. That night about 9 p.m., I hear something outside. And when I look through the window, there's somebody by the boat. Heading out of the door to confront the person, the dude takes off running, wearing all black. White male, about 6'5", muscular, and the dude runs like the wind. No way I was catching him. So I take some time to inspect the boat and see nothing's wrong. Figure to myself, hey, maybe he was just trying to steal something off the back of the boat. But there's nothing there for him to steal other than a life vest. So I head to bed. The plan was to go to the island the next day at sundown. Again, trying my best not to make the same mistakes that the guy previously made. There was no way I was going to be out there at night. So the following morning, I had breakfast, listened to the story again for clues, and then decide to email Dog Waters about the location. I didn't ask him for the coordinates because I already knew he would not give it to me, and he wouldn't believe me. So I gave him coordinates and pictures of where I was, asking him, am I anywhere near the spot? And to my surprise, he emailed me back immediately saying that I was in the right spot. But I needed to be extremely careful because there's worse things in the swamp than Dogman. Now, I'm still not sure to this day why when I put that phone down, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. But they did. It's 3:30, and I head to Dulac and launch the boat. By the time I get to the island, it's 4:30. So I run the airboat over the island again. And the only thing there are some big alligators. And this right here is where I can honestly tell you out. And I'll readily admit it, because I exit the boat to check out the ship. And that's when I see this rope ladder. You know, like the company that owned the ship had employees climb this rope ladder to go onto the ship. So I decided to climb the ladder. I wanted to get a higher vantage point from the top of the ship. I figured I could look out and see more. Remember, I said this is where I'm up. Well, I'm halfway up that ladder and lose my footing, slip and fall to the ground. Had to be a 25-foot fall. And when I finally wake up, I'm awakened to rats. Hundreds of rats pouring out of a hole on the side of that ship. Now, it's not completely dark outside, but it's minutes away from the sun going down. And standing to my feet, there's this pain in my lower back unlike anything I've ever felt. Every step was torture. Looking around, there's rats all over the ground. And when I tell you they're everywhere, it's literally like the ground has carpet with fur on it. So now I'm working my way back over to the airboat, slowly moving. Every inch hurt. The sun is going down, and that's when I start to see these orbs of red light. 3 of them. One at the boat, and it's so bright there's no mistaking it. This orb is literally the size of a beach ball. And as those orbs appear, the rats start to flee, headed back into the ship, and that's when I realized how tough of a situation this was. And then the orb closest to the boat transforms into what can only be described as a woman, and not a sexy woman at all. This thing was hunchback, gray eyeballs, hair all over, no nose, just 2 slits, trout mouth with these sharp teeth. Understand the situation. Now I have the ship to my back, this woman thing in front of me, and the 2 other orbs are flanking me, one to my right, scared out of my mind. But the pain I'm feeling is telling me that I need to get to that boat, so I keep moving forward. That's when the whispering starts. So loud, it drowns out the sounds of the rats, and my vision gets darker and darker, and that's the last thing I remember about that night. Because when I wake up again, I'm at the boat launch. It's sunrise. This is blowing his horn at me. I have the boat hitched to the trailer, partially out of the water, but I'm parked on a boat ramp, sitting there. Trying to get my mind wrapped around what the hell is happening, he comes over and starts beating on my window saying, "What the fuck are you doing? Get your boat out of the way." Now, at first, I thought what I experienced on the island was all a dream. Some kind of freaky, crazy, right? But no, when I go to shift my truck in the drive and hit the gas, that back pain kicks in. And it's like lightning going up and down my spine. Excruciating pain. And mind you, every time I put my foot down on the gas pedal or lifted my foot to put it on the brake, it felt as if I was getting struck by lightning. Confused, I drive back to the motel, only to learn that I had checked myself out a few hours ago. The clerk asks me how my back was feeling and tells me that he enjoyed the nice conversation with my wife. Now, just in case I haven't made this clear to you, I don't have a wife and I didn't come to Louisiana with a woman. So I check back into the motel and just sit still to try and think about things. Inspecting a boat, everything is fine. Inspecting my truck, everything is fine. My body, however, is not fine because when I took a shower, it had bruises all over it. So I knew and understood at some point in time, I did fall off that ship. But what the hell happened to me after seeing that gray-eyed trout-mouthed woman? I had absolutely no clue. So I made the only logical decision in this situation, which was to get the hell up out of Louisiana. And I endured this painful 8-hour drive back home. Listen to me when I tell you that I was ecstatic to be in my own house, on my own sofa, and sit down and have a beer. Listen, I expected my body to be tired and drained from the stress of everything that happened, but you gotta understand, once I hit the sofa at my house, I slept for 24 hours. And during those 24 hours, I had the most terrible dreams. Dreams of me being held down, rats running all over my body, these gray-eyed women chanting and painting on my chest with rat's blood, laughing with that trout mouth in those teeth. I'm still not sure what happened to me. I can't explain none of it. And when I reached back out to Dark Waters and told him the story and asked him what he thought it was, he had a definite answer for me. He said you ran into some swamp fairies. And I told you there's more dangerous things in those swamps than Dogman.